everyone, welcome to the Drum Club podcast, powered by Collision Drumsticks, the #1 drumming podcast, giving you guys at home in all areas access pass to conversations on topics that range, of course, from drumming, mindset, entrepreneurship, the music business, and so much more. Each week, we bring you exciting discussions featuring both independent and signed artists, as well as speakers, touring and award-winning musicians, and industry experts. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below to keep up to date with new videos, announcements, and of course, exclusive Drum Club content. And be sure to like and comment today's video and share your thoughts about our conversation. This week on the Drum Club podcast, we are joined by drummer and Collision endorsee, Jonathan Fredericks, aka Jonathan Rocks. Based in Florida, USA, Jonathan has been drumming since the age of just 7 years old and is currently a solo artist, playing, supporting with backing tracks, as well as rocking audiences on his kit. Jonathan also sits in with so many different local bands and projects throughout the state of Florida, and including Daytona Bike Week, local venues and festivals, and he's done that for so many years. So we're going to get into all of that. Jonathan, of course, is also, as well as this, a proud, active ELSS drumline captain. Fabulous, outstanding. And Jonathan is a proud Collision endorsee and can also be found cross social media at Jonathan Rocks Official. Jonathan, without saying any more, I mean, what an introduction. How are you? And welcome to the Drum Club.
I'm doing great. First of all, I just want to say, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's really just an honor to, do something like this and connect with, drumstick companies like this with such a friendly welcome, I'd say.
Thank you for saying that. And honestly, we really
course.
appreciate you also joining us. I mean, you are the guest of the show today. And honestly, the feeling's mutual. I know you and I go way back, to when you were much younger, Jonathan.
Right.
I know your father as well, Jeff, has been a real, steadfast support of both yourself and the Collision brand for so many years. So again, it would be wrong of me not to say a big thank you to start with as well for all of his support, because, where would we be without our support, of course, right?
Right. Course.
Love that. So yeah, as I say, guys, we're gonna have a fantastic episode today, so don't forget to subscribe, take a look at some of the other incredible interviews, as well as music industry videos as well. Jonathan, diving in, let's get started. For those who are yet to meet you, learn about yourself, if you could give us the pitch, give us the elevator story. Who is Jonathan Rocks? A little bit of background into how you got started as a musician and drummer.
Of course. Well, I mean, you really did cover a lot of the stuff. Obviously I'm from Florida. I started about when I was 7 years old. Been playing ever since. I'm about 17 years old now. So, I mean, that's about give or take 10 or 11 years. And ever since then, my family's always been into music, but that didn't necessarily mean that they played music. My dad, most people think, oh, is your dad a musician? Is your dad a drummer? Does your mom sing? And they're like, no. It was really just brought upon me of his music taste, really, that kind of got me into this whole thing. He'd always play that kind of music when I was younger, all the 80s rock and metal, Iron Maiden over in the UK, all that kind of stuff. And that's what really kind of got me hooked on that. And I've been taking lessons since then, really kind of expanding my vocabulary in the drum world, since then, just these past few years. I've been really focusing on kind of expanding my music taste, not just focusing on the, heavy metal aspect or that rock aspect, more of like the jazz, reggae, gospel, all that kind of stuff. But, I really did start off, playing the rock and heavy metal, which is great because, I really wouldn't have brought me here, because that was my foundation for music. But, I'm kind of at this point now where I'm kind of parting ways and kind of discovering my own thing with this music thing. So yeah,
I really appreciate you starting off this podcast by just kind of giving us a real deep dive into where you've been, where you're at, where you're going. I wanted to just take a little bit of a moment just to really dive into that a little deeper. So like you say, father, mom, big inspirations to you, but not musicians. And I think sometimes that is really refreshing to hear, because there's so many drummers who come from kind of drumming families, drumming backgrounds. We all have that unique starting story, right? And I totally respect those drummers that, come from that background. But to have yourself, that motivation really must have been there from the start. I mean, to be playing now a decade, you've known music longer than you've known without it. You are someone who literally eats, breathes, sleeps, and bleeds music. So, to hear that you started with, a kind of your father's influence and take on that kind of 80s Iron Maiden, absolute privilege. You know, what a band. I mean, to
Right.
namesake and just to throw out there. But when it comes to exploring and expanding, you know, what was the trigger? I know you said that this is happening of late. Is it the fact that, you know, you've got 10 years of experience under your belt? Is it that you just feel you're at this age now where you know, that coming of age? You know, what is it that's really kind of inspired and really fueled the fires to kind of start to look
Right.
into other alternative genres?
Yeah. So, really what kind of caught my eye on that kind of stuff, because, these past, handful of years, again, like I was saying, it's been really focusing and revolving around that kind of rock and, heavy metal, genre around, especially where I live. But as I started getting older, I was more exposed to, different venues and different kind of concerts and different drummers and different styles. And I'd take those little bits and pieces from all these places I'd go to, and I'd listen to all these drummers and be like, okay, this is something different, And, at the same time, I'd have all these, all my peers and all these teachers and, all the big name band drummers, they'd always tell me, they're like, you know what? Don't stick with just one kind of music, one genre, it's good. Like I said, it's good to have that kind of, those kind of options, under your belt. And that's what really kind of,
Absolutely.
that's what
And
got me in.
I really respect that. And I think that's a lesson and a takeaway for so many drummers at home watching today. It's, you know, keep your horizons broad. Don't pigeonhole yourself in just one genre because you never know where it might take you and lead, you know, opportunities towards you and you with that. And can you point to any opportunities where you've secured gigs or kind of sit-in
Yeah,
sessions based on this kind of need and this desire to obviously go different genres and cross genres and start to explore the
of
other areas
course,
of your
of
music?
course. Yeah, so I guess really one of the pretty good example would be, for example, is the church gigs I do over in my hometown. Um so aside from the rock aspect, actually the group that plays at that church, they play actually a couple times a week around here locally doing rock cover gigs. And they heard about me and they're like, "Hey, you know what? Come play over at the church with us." And at first glance, I was like, "Okay, I've never played for a church. This is like something different. I don't think it's gonna be anything crazy." But at the same time, when I came in with that kind of mindset, I was kind of allowing myself to grow, in a way, almost like in a disciplined way, because when we're talking about church songs and gospel songs, usually it's more of the lighter stuff. It's nothing too crazy, but it kind of humbles yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really what brought me, for the first, really the different genres, that gospel church kind of music. That was really what pulled me in. Yeah,
I love hearing that and kind of matching faith with, you know, your desire to play and to, you
of
know,
course.
show the active service through different ways. And, you know, to give back to faith is really important. And I love
Yeah.
hearing that. And so many drummers are faith based and certainly those that watch the Drum Club podcast. So, you know, they'll be definitely in total alignment there. And I definitely feel like you can speak to something that we all share in terms of those experiences.
All right.
When it comes to, you know, because I know this is something of recent, you know, you've started pursuing, in all fairness, you know, what's been the biggest lesson you've had from those gigs and those worship opportunities? What's been the biggest takeaway, the thing that took you by surprise that you thought, you know what, gosh, I didn't see it like that before, or speak, you know, was there a, you know, is there been some parting words from a particular session from another kind of musician in the band, or
Yeah, yeah. I'd really say one of the experience I've had, really, kind of related to the worship aspect, but I'd play all those kind of gigs, and what they'd usually do is they'd have these kind of drummers that would kind of rotate out, um, a couple times a week out of the service, because I'd only do like 2, 3 services a month, given there's 4 Sundays in a month. Um, and I'd always see these different kind of guys, because we'd always play the same songs, except we kind of put our own twist on it. Um, and we kind of had this room to kind of build creativity on the songs, because there wasn't a set in stone, for a lot of these songs. They just kind of gave us the songs and be like, you know, how are you going to play this? How is it going to sound with the band? Put your kind of taste to the song. And I would see these other drummers that were, twice my age, and I'd see them play these, and I'd be like, okay, this is actually like, okay, this sounds a lot better than how I interpreted it. This kind of gave me a different perspective of like how these songs sound. And I actually spoke with a lot of them, and we talked back and forth about, how these songs sound, what would sound better, how would this link up with the bass or the guitar, the vocals, in this point in the song. And we kind of chit chat back and forth and, really kind of connect on those things. And it made me sit back and think and be like, okay, taking these bits and pieces kind of makes it, kind of molds this kind of new version of me, really, this like fresh start. Yeah.
I think to have that approach is just so special to be able to actually get around other drummers, other musicians, to talk music, to talk structure, to talk flow is just so it's the creative process in its element at its core. And I think that's a really unique perspective you offer. And I had so much fun preparing for this interview. Seriously, I told your dad off camera this was such a highlight because I think you have something to offer the music industry and to offer any artists that you work with. It's just so unique because you come from this background of, it's not the conventional style of I'm in a
Right.
band, I'm a one band man, I'm a one band artist. You are someone who literally sits in and supports you, someone who never lets anyone down. You always take that seat and you always make sure you show up and you serve the song. But the fact that we've taken this direction into faith and into worship, and to see it yet again unfold and to say, look, I'm just sitting back, I'm taking it all in, I'm being inspired by other musicians, and then I'm adding to it, I'm adding my mark to the painting. I think it's just so special. And I think
Yeah.
that's what truly makes you, Jonathan, that unique drummer. And I think honestly champion that. And I think any drummers at home watching that, get yourself into a situation as young Jonathan is in this position of surrounding yourself by other creatives. We thrive in community, we thrive in tribes, and I think you need to just find your tribe, whether it's faith, family,
Yeah.
friends, whether it's bands, whether it's just jam nights. Get yourself involved in the local community. We're going to talk about that and so much more in a moment. I want to come back, Jonathan, to music education, because this is something that yourself, you've really taken this seriously and you've really ran with it. It's all the way through to marching and of course your high school band. Would you obviously share with the artists at home kind of your experiences through education, through the different routes, self-taught, private education, the decisions behind that, and obviously as ELS drumline captain, can you bring us from day one up to speed with that through this
Of
like I
course.
said, the channel of music education?
Of course, yeah, I'd love to do that. So I guess really starting from day one, around the age of 7 or 8, I kind of went to this music store around here locally that I knew always existed. My dad, knew it was a thing. And it's pretty big, honestly, in the U.S. The music store is called Sam Ash Music Store, and they've got a pretty decent amount around the country based on location. But I checked out that place. I saw the drum area. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. They had all the drum sets on display, cymbals, the kick pedals, the toms, the snares, anything. And there was actually a little kit, actually a few kits that were fully set up, and it was the lessons room. So it was like this private little box room. It had a door. It was all secluded, all soundproofed. And I was checking it out, and I hopped on the kit, and I just started, messing around with it. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is something I want to continue to do. And after that day, we immediately started setting up lessons, and I kind of did it basically every week for the next 5, 6 years of that time. And I was just consistent, staying Sam Ash, same teacher for all those 5, 6 years as well. Big props to him, Brandon Bowers, one of the greatest teachers. I think he really started my drumming career. But aside from that, really just those lessons throughout elementary and middle school, and sort of transitioning to the high school is when I went to a public school, the East Lake High School. Because the elementary and middle school years, I was at a private school, and they didn't offer a lot of the music program. So I was really seeking out to find, more of an opportunity, really. So East Lake High School was my first pick. And freshman year was kind of kind of the doozy year because that was around when COVID hit. And, it was just a big kind of letdown for really the whole world. Slowed down, everything, education, musical opportunities, all that. But once after that really cooled down, I kind of began marching band the end of my freshman year. And I was going in, kind of, unaware of what I was getting myself into. Because, I had no really idea of what was going on. But after that, I kind of had that first taste of playing out on the field with a whole band, getting that feeling inside like, okay, this is something that I really do enjoy. And I kind of did that, started playing those football games, marching out on the field, playing for the people out in the stands. I got that taste of, that excitement, that thrill of, being on that field. And then after that kind of season was over, progressing on to sophomore, junior year, I got more into the technical concert band, wind ensemble, the more orchestral aspect of music. And that really expanded my sort of skill set when it came to reading music, because the years prior I really did not have any experience with sight reading or reading any music of any kind, which was also very humbling to me, because I had the ability to play countless of things on a set and with my hands and my ears, but when it came to the eyes and actually applying those skills, that's where I was kind of in the back. But I worked through that, had my ups and downs, but it was really one of the most vital things I'd say for my whole life when it comes to music, because that's what kind of got me started for the musical aspect. But after that, got more used to the more orchestra kind of stuff, went ensemble, loved doing that, playing the timpani, snare drum, marimba, you name it, all the percussion instruments. It was great. And then moving on to my senior year this year, I really decided to step forward from the passing on veterans and seniors to do drumline captain. And I obviously had to go through the audition process, go through the steps, what was required of this. And luckily I was, grateful enough to, accept this position. And it's actually been a great season so far. We've been very, very hardworking. Love the drumline, love all the guys and girls on the drumline. Shout out to them. But we've been so hardworking this whole summer, every week, playing outside, getting our tunes ready and just really getting ready for the competition so far. And that's where I'm at so far with, the high school. So, yeah.
I do want to say huge congratulations on achieving captain status. And
So
I just think, hearing you walk us through all of the different stages as you progress and mature each year, there's new things going in play there. There's new things being added to. And I think that's the reason why, this hard work, it's a credit, testament to why you're the captain. You are one of the obvious choices because you put in the work each and every single day, Jonathan, and hard work rewards itself. There's no corner cutting. The through line is the graft, the hard work, the day in, the day out, pounding the iron, hit literally an iron sharpening iron. The only way forward is the things we do off the stage is the things we take to the stage. That's a phrase I say often, and it truly is. And that stage could be drumline. That stage could be concert, orchestral. That stage could be, gosh, being a bedroom jammer playing once a week. Whatever that stage is to you, it's about making sure that you are literally honing that skill and that craft in. A question I had for you off the back of that, and I do want to maybe touch on the, again, the role as captain in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
What is some, of the surprising benefits or skills that kits helped in terms of helping you transition easier to drumline and vice versa? What were the skills? What were the things that you would put in motion years before you even got to playing in drumline and before you even got to playing in an orchestral scenario that you think, that paid the dividends, that really helped you, and you think, gosh, I'm so pleased I put in the work there to really benefit and hone in those skills further? And what helped when it came to drumline? And obviously you're taking now back to the kit.
Of course, yeah. I'd say one of the biggest things that really kind of solidified that, transition and kind of into the new world aspect, was obviously, having those years prior with the drum set. And honestly, believe it or not, I'd say one of the most underrated things, but, most drummers would probably agree with me, but having that experience at such a young age with playing out with bands and interacting with each band member as we're playing in the moment and kind of getting a feel for the song and getting a feel for tempo, which is the hugest thing. The biggest thing in drumline is having that tempo, and that solidified, consistent tempo really came in handy, especially at such a young age. They're like, how is this kid holding tempo so good compared to the other students? And I really thought back to myself, I'm like, man, all those shows I played, all the songs, all the bands I played with, really just caught my eye of like, okay, this kind of worked out, So
Yeah, absolutely. And, kind of having that one voice, that saccadic rhythm kind of built in, that muscle memory.
Right.
When you got to drumline and you picked up those matches, it was just muscle memory. It was just a twitch. It was that reflex because you put that work in from the ground up. So no, that's fabulous. I wanted to touch on maybe, some of the events that you've played with as part of being involved in the drum line. Can you maybe share some of those? I know you're gearing up for competitions, and best of luck to you and the team there. I really do hope you go out and smash it and crush it for the school. But when it comes to maybe some of the things that you've been putting in, over summer, has there been any warm ups? Have you been doing some competitions prior to these coming up? Has there been any kind of small gatherings that you've had, or kind of days and nights? Because I know it's a big deal in the States. For context around the world, this is something that really the US takes and runs with. So can you maybe fill in some of the gaps for some of the artists at home?
Yeah, sure. I'd say one of our biggest competitions we got coming up towards the end of the football season is the Seminole Sound Festival. It's where about 20 schools come together and they all do their marching band shows. It's the biggest competition at the end of the year. Every school's preparing for it. I really think that we're on a pretty solid track this year for the Seminole Sound. And I'm really pumped to see where we go, placement wise, how I really am confident that we're going to perform pretty well. But the Seminole Sound is also one of the great ones. Besides that, we also have a competition coming up this year with the Tarpon Springs Music Festival. So the Tarpon Springs band, they are, I think, the best band in Florida. I mean, when it comes to marching band, these guys are just top of the line. I mean, they were actually the ones that played. So the Tarpon Springs band, they played at the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving on live television. So they had the honor of doing that, and it's so cool because seeing those high school bands that get picked out of the country, and they're so local and that they're so close to us. But besides that, really excited for the competition over at Tarpon. It's going to be great. Working with that drum line is just going to be so great. I mean, they're just like us. They're the same age as me, but their skills are just off the charts. They're like mind blowing, really. So I'm very pumped for Tarpon. And then we do just have mainly football games going on. Really, that's our biggest thing. We got is those halftime shows. Really to build up for those competitions. And then I believe we do have one more out of state. That's kind of undecided. We might be going out of state to perform, which is going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to that as well. But that's really all we have on track right now. I probably might have forgot a few things, but these are our main things that are going on. So.
And we'll be sure to include anything that you've forgotten below as well in the comments and in obviously the notes section as well. But I'm sure everyone at home will be in total alignment with me. We wish you every success for the competition season coming up. It's coming up to be a very packed season. As you walked us through, it's going to be a very busy season. And I know it's going to be a lot of late nights, early mornings, and in between. I don't know where you're going to find time to breathe between, this school, family time. I don't know how you make it work, Jonathan. I really don't, but you do each and every single day. And obviously, of course, your commitments to all the brands you work with as well. And we're gonna share something special a little bit later on. In terms of some recent events and some things that you've attended, you actually recently went to Nashville, and I wanted to touch on this and just have you share maybe some of the experiences there and kind of being in music land, because so many, it's like a pilgrimage. So many drummers want to be in Nashville, feeling it, because there is a real rhythm and pulse to the city. And can you just share those experiences, because I know you were there for really special events, and I know that you've made some great networks and connections.
Yeah, of course. So we went over to Nashville about a month or two ago, probably about a month ago, checking out the Music City Drum Show. And we recently found out about this around this year because it's only been going on for about 3 years now. And it really kind of caught our eye, almost taking place of the Summer NAMM in a way. Because, as we know, it's been kind of iffy after COVID. It's been, people haven't been showing up, prices going up with the booths and whatnot. But the Music City Drum Show, we were really pumped for. Again, we were going into this kind of like, okay, so how's this going to be? Who's going to be there? We did know a few brands that actually brought us there. Saw them, great guys. I love them. Spinelli Drums. Thank you so much, John Spinelli, by the way, for bringing me out to there. But besides that, it was great because I met so many drummers over there, which was just such a crazy experience, seeing all these guys play, all the chops they were showing, just, really just making a stank face the whole time, watching these guys play. But besides that kind of, playing out kind of stuff, the companies were also great too, because, I saw a couple big name brands, as well as one of them was Peisty. which was very cool to see Pisces, talk to the guy a little bit, checking out all the companies. And as well, I saw some Soul Tone products as well. Their symbols, and I talked to the guys over there. But other than that, it's just a lot of cool people pushing out their products, very friendly, just kind of like a whole family over there. But when it came to sort of the downtown, this was like a whole other world. Down on the strip, on Broadway, seeing these bands play at nighttime, you got one bar that's got a band playing, jamming out, drummers right up on the edge. And then you go right next door, and it's another band playing. And then you go the next door, another band. And it's just countless bands, lights, people yelling, partying, having a good time. It's just so cool to see because, these guys do this for a living. They do it every day, every night, just constantly making music, playing out for people. And seeing those people jam is really what also makes me happy. Seeing people groove out and, having a good time because, that's what we really all need. But besides that, it was really great seeing that, the musical aspect. Obviously the scenery of Tennessee is always beautiful, but gotta love the music and you gotta have it.
I'm so thrilled you had such a great time down there, and the fact that, you document every part of your career. And I think this is going to be so, so amazing to look back on. The fact that you literally have a scrapbook of running, in parallel to your life. You've got this incredible Instagram, Jonathan Rock's official. It's unbelievable to see just how you've evolved as a musician, how you've developed as a drummer, and also to see all of the different experiences. I mean, we were thrilled to meet in person back in Nam, last year, and it was
Great.
just so great to finally get into a room again after, like you say, COVID, literally 21, 22 months of, being at home, stuck in an office, stuck in the house, not being able to go anywhere, do anything, play a show, anything at all. And drummers are creatures of habit. Like, we need rhythm, we need tempo, and we need people.
Yeah.
We need to be out there playing, doing what we do best. And to be back, it really did feel good. I had to say it. And I know you really had a good time with us down there. And just to see you yet again spreading your wings, going to a different city, different state, making the partnerships, catching up with old friends, shaking hands. You've got to do this. This is how people get on in this industry. And I think it's just, yet another takeaway for drummers at home. If you really want to make a go of this, whether it's a career in drumming or music, or whether it's just, part time, it pays to really get in a room and start to network and make those next new connections. It really, really well and truly does. And also have a great few nights. I mean, come on, in Nashville, where every bar, every street is corner to corner with
Of course.
bars, bands. I mean, it's just a win-win-win. I am really pleased, and like I say, we'll have to make sure that everyone checks out your Instagram and your social content, Jonathan, because there are some pretty impressive photos and certainly some pretty impressive kit shots. Now, on the kit scenario, we love nothing more than talking shop here at the Drum Club. Now, you've got some really exciting gear. You played with so many different brands over the years, but could you just break down, of course, what the kit is that you're using currently, what some of the symbols are, and from there we can talk hardware as well.
Of course, yeah. So really actually as of right now, I'm actually just on a little Tama 5-piece series. This is just my practice kit. I'll get into that in a second, but my main focus is my DW kit that I have. I had it bought it about 6 years ago. It's a DW design series. It's a cherry maple shell. It's got a red outer coating. And I use DW and Evans heads on those. But it's a 7-piece kit, as well as paired with DW hardware, as well as some Tama hardware for my cymbals. And then on the cymbals note, I actually started off with Pisces, used them for a while, and then came along Soul Tone. Great company, love them so much, so supportive, so friendly. And I started using Soul Tone. I actually have some of the cymbals from my main kit on this kit, mixed with a few others, but I've got about 6 or 7 cymbals on those. And I just have paired that with the DW, and it's really meshed together so well.
I love that, and I rock a DW too, so we're part of the club and the team, and it's just it was so great to hear that you've got several kits, you've got your practice kits, and when it comes to having a 7-piece, I mean, what inspired you to really get behind DW, versus other brands, and to really pick up, a bigger kit, because a 7-piece is quite a large kit, and there's a lot of drums to hit there. So what was the rationale or the decision making process behind that, if you would?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, seeing a lot of the artists, the big name bands that play DW, and the biggest one really was Neil Peart. Rest in
Yeah,
peace to him. And what really caught my attention was, that massive kit they had. You can never miss it. You can never not recognize it really from any view. But seeing all those drums and all those toms and cymbals kind of was like, okay, I won't have a kit as big as his, but maybe I could have something similar. And I
Yeah.
actually started off with the electric drum set that was a 5-piece. So I started off with something smaller, but we really want to kind of just step it up and do something a little different than a simple 4-piece or 5-piece. And after that, kind of fell in love with that kit, and I was like, okay, I think this will last me a long time. So it hasn't let me
I
down
love
since.
hearing that, and honestly, I know it's been out gigging with you as well. So I think for artists at home, folks at home who've yet to see Jonathan play, I think this is one of the highlights as well. Just seeing him absolutely hit the tubs, doing what he does best. I think show-stopping performance each and every single time, and it's a one not to miss. So I encourage anyone in the area as well. Whenever Jonathan's out, he always posts his gig dates and his listings, and he really does get behind making sure everyone tries to attend the shows he plays, especially the Daytona Bike Festival and obviously so many other incredible events, because this is what community is all about. It's about getting there, showing up, and just taking part and enjoying yourself. And the reason why I think we've had so much fun is because I think we have to mention it. I think walking off, we would be wrong of us to. We are just absolutely incredibly proud to highlight that. We at Collision Drumsticks are in partnership directly with Jonathan. And of course, Jeff as well, his father, has been a profound support over the years. But Jonathan's been a proud Collision endorsed artist for a number of years now. When I do have to ask Jonathan, personally, how has the endorsement experience been for you, and how are you enjoying the drumsticks?
Actually, it's been very great. I mean, really, ever since we kind of, had this whole thing when the stone kind of started rolling, it's been great. I've been tagging you guys everywhere I play on social media. Super friendly. I mean, props to you, Carlton. Such a great, friendly guy. I really have not met someone like you when it comes to the musical drumming. This is like we're basically a family now. That's how I say it. But other than that, playing Collision out, I always have people ask me, they're like, what sticks do you play? And I'm like, oh, it's Collision. And they're like, oh, I don't think I've heard of it. I'm like, and I give them the whole rundown, always pushing out Collision. It's just great because you guys are so friendly. Everything is also very user friendly, really, for the drummer. You guys have so many options when it comes to different styles, different lengths, different weight. That's really my biggest pet peeve on some of these companies is that, I can't find that special stick for that specific, feel I want. When it comes to Collision, that's where it's the strong point.
And I know you made the switch recently to 5Bs. What was the decision behind that? And what are you most excited about playing, using, and what is it about the 5Bs that really just is the ideal stick for you behind the kit?
Yeah, what I really would think, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the previous ones I used were the 7As, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 7As. So really going from 7A to the 5B, is that, because with the 7A, it's kind of more lengthy. And, when I was younger, I wasn't as, I didn't have as long limbs, and I kind of wanted that reach for when I was playing. But, as I got older and, as these genetics started kicking in and getting taller and longer, I kind of wanted a shorter stick, but at the same time, I didn't want such a bulky stick in my hand. So, I transitioned to the 5, and I was like, okay, this is something I want, but I was also missing something. And that was that weight, because, when I was younger, I'd always want to play on a pretty light stick because I didn't have that feel yet. And I was like, okay, so let me try the 5B. And I was like, okay, I'm really getting that boom out of the snare and out of the toms and all that. And I was like, okay, this is something that I think I can play for a lot of different genres and a lot of different gigs. And it worked out. So
I love hearing that. And I want to say a huge thank you as well for the kind words earlier as well. I really appreciate
yeah,
that. And the feeling is certainly mutual as well. We are very blessed and fortunate to have met such again, youth, yes, but absolute professional, I will say. That is not defined by age. You are someone who is hands down from day one. You staked your claim. You put that application in. Yes, dad was always there in your corner, but you did everything. And I'm really proud to have you represent this brand,
thanks
flying the
so much.
flag for us, not just in Florida, but wherever you go.
Of
And
course,
again, for many, many, many more years, and hopefully passing on that legacy
of
down and
course. I'll
wherever
do
you
it.
go. And I know it's unbelievable. We have to talk about it. Can you talk us through the wall behind you? Because it's just a collection of
Yes, of
incredible
course.
items you've
Yeah,
really curated throughout the years, but taking prime place is obviously the best brand in the industry, and it's the brand that you call home. It's Collision and DW. Can you
of
tell us
course.
more?
Yeah. So yeah, actually here, give me one sec. Let me just go unplug this light
Please,
since it's
please
so
take your
loud.
time.
Yeah, of course. All right. All right. Can you see this? Is everything okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Love the shirt, by the
So,
way.
thank you. So obviously I have the Collision drumsticks banner. One of my favorites because we couldn't really decide on what size banner or what kind of look we were going for when it came to Collision. And I came across this one. I'm like, okay, this will look good because actually behind these two banners, I have a big window that's actually soundproof. Then we're like, okay, I think we'll put something right behind it, and it kind of fit pretty well. And right below that, if you can see, I have the DW logo and the DW. And of course, since I'm using DW, um, always got to include them. And then on the side, I actually have a little one right over there. It's not really focusing, but it's actually the Soul Tone logo. Again, always got to push them out there because I'm constantly using their pieces and whatnot. And then other than that, really on this side where the guitars are at, we have a bunch of passes from all the concerts I've been to. Iron Maiden, all the big name bands Bring Me the Horizon, all these artists and whatnot. Ever since I was little, we'd always just put up all over there on the passes of, where I've been. And actually I could see it right now. Is actually my NAM pass from all the years, going to NAM in Anaheim and Tennessee. It's all hanging on that wall. And also over in the corner, kind of, excuse my mom, this is also her office, so it's a little
No
messy.
worries at all.
But actually, where those posters are, all along the back, those are all the shows I've played at, where my name is in the paper and on the poster and the flyer.
Oh, that's so
And
good.
from all the
Incredible.
years I've
I think
played,
I think it's a message to everyone who's well watching and at home and whoever catches this incredible interview. Document the journey
of
because
course,
to know where we need to go, we have to look back to where we've been. And I think you are someone who, honestly, I know your parents have been always the main support, network for you, Jonathan. But and I know they'll have told you to document the journey, but you've also had to do it yourself as well at times and make sure that you take that clipping. You make sure you don't forget to keep the pass for a rainy day because you look back and you go, my goodness, that's how I can recall these memories. That's how I can go. That was an incredible
right,
show. That was that to be at that NAM during that time. That was a real important moment for me in my career, in my journey. So I think it's just a testament again to remind everyone at home to document the journey. Social media is a great way
of
of
course,
doing that. Taking mementos back with you, and also, I mean, to show the support you do for the brands. I really do want to say again a huge thank you for always making sure you're wearing the Collision brand on your sleeve. It
of
really
course.
does go a long way for us in flying the Collision flag. Jonathan, with that said, talking about where we've been and now where we're going, can you share some of the big music goals you have for the remainder of the year and maybe into 2024? I can't believe I'm saying 2024. I don't
I
even know
know,
where this
right?
year's gone, but what do they look like to you?
Yeah, so one of the main focuses really is kind of piggybacking off what we were talking about with the marching man. Really kind of finishing out strong this year. Want to see my team do really good and push themselves, and they have been this year. Again, huge props to them. We have been just grinding and just putting that hard work out on the field, blood, sweat, and tears, literally. But I'm looking really forward to that. And then for kind of the drum set aspect, I'm really looking more to play out a lot more because it's a little tough now because I am finishing off my last year of high school. So, as you can expect, school is picking up a little bit, deciding where I'm going to go after high school. It's kind of kicking in now. But really looking forward to playing more gigs out. The church gigs have never let me down. Those will stay continuing. It's great playing with the guys. Always have a blast on those Sundays. And then really other than that is kind of pushing my social media. That's another big thing is the Instagram. It's been booming a little bit recently. And I think I'm going to take down that path a little stronger, moving forward.
Absolutely, and I really do see you as a major influencer in 2023, and I think you're going to just go on to double down on that. And we're in your corner to help with that, given our expertise as well on that. I think that's fabulous, and you always highlight your schooling, but it is always school first, and that is so important. And I know the folks will be pleased to hear me say this, but homework needs to be done first. All the
Of course.
assignments need to be boxed off. Definitely, because you are someone who really does work hard in everything you apply yourself to everything. That's why you've got the grades you have. That's why you've got the fabulous, opportunities laid out in front of you. And that's why you'll go on to do so many successful things with your career and in whatever direction you go and choose to go. I do want to ask this final question. And it's a tradition here at the Drum Club. We always have to ask this, to our drummers, and who better than one of our star endorsees. You know our slogan better than most. Impact your sound, okay? That is something that's always stuck with us. It's always going to stand by us as a brand. But what does it mean, Jonathan, to you personally, to impact your sound as a drummer?
Yeah, I'd love to actually touch on that. So I kind of see it as two ways. I kind of see it as two separate things. The first way I see it, impacting your sound. I take that to the literal sense of impacting the sound behind the kit, on the skins. Especially while using Collision, that's where I want that sound to be projected. They're like, okay, why he's actually sounds pretty good. I wonder what he's using. And that's where that comes into play. And then the second thing is impacting that sound is kind of, leaving a mark in this world, I'd say, when it comes to the music industry. How I am and how I've been brought into the music industry and the musical world. I really kind of want to leave my mark, and I think that's great how that's your guys' slogan, and that's how I see it. Is kind of putting your voice out. Really, that's how I see it. So
I love the direction of that, taking it in two different angles, both behind the kit and the metaphor as well there, and kind of the significance of that. Well, I'll say this: I think you're already leaving an incredible mark. I think within the industry for yourself, for the legacy that you build, and I think it's huge. Like we've always said, we're always in your corner. We really are excited for the future. We wish you every success with the studies, every success with the upcoming competitions. You are going to absolutely crush it. I know it's about taking part, but I really do know you're going to put every best effort into to winning, and we really are hoping that you do. But Jonathan, this has been amazing. Huge thank you for your time. Jonathan, where can our followers reach you? How can we make sure that these drummers who are watching you take that next step and give you a follow? Where is a good place for them to start?
of course, I'd say the top place to go check me out is Jonathan Rocks Official at Instagram, and that's JONATHANROCKS. Because believe it or not, people like to twist that their own way, but it'll be the top search. It'll be right there on the search bar. And besides from the Instagram would be my jonathanrocks.com. It's my website, same way you're spelling it. It'll bring my links to, my YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the goodies and whatnot. And then obviously on the Collision website, you can check me out. It's got my whole bio and whatnot. So where you can find me.
We're going to make sure to include all the links below. Absolutely incredible stuff. I want to say thank you, Jonathan. We couldn't have done it without you this episode. Fabulous, really great musician, such an artist to watch this year and next. And to you guys at home, thanks for watching. We can't do this without you guys. So it's essential that you subscribe. Don't forget to like and comment as well. List your favorite thing about today's episode. There's so much to unpack, so much to talk about, and so much to join the conversation in. And don't forget to be sure to check out Jonathan, and as well as that, all of the unbelievable, incredible conversations that we've had with other outstanding drummers. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much. See you all soon.